Welcome back to Project Luxury. More than 5.3 million years ago, Europe and Africa were connected by a landmass. However, a massive flooding event severed this connection, shaping the Mediterranean Sea as we know it today. The narrowest point of water between Europe and Africa is just 13 kilometers, and on clear days, people on the Spanish and Moroccan coast can see the opposite shore. The concept of linking these continents with a bridge or tunnel has been considered for a long time, but never materialized. Recently, Spain and Morocco have renewed plans for this mega project. The upcoming 2030 World Football Championships, which will be hosted by Spain, Portugal, and Morocco, has reignited interest in this ambitious idea of constructing a railway tunnel beneath the Strait of Gibraltar. This global tournament is expected to draw millions of fans worldwide, providing fresh momentum for the project that dates back to over 90 years. Today, we'll delve into the plans to connect Africa and Europe by rail. Don't forget to click the subscribe button and like this video, as it's the best way to support our channel's growth. The Strait of Gibraltar, the narrowest point between the European and African continents, lies within the territorial waters of Morocco, Spain, and the British Overseas Territory of Gibraltar. With just 8 miles separating them, this location is ideal for establishing a fixed transport link between the two landmasses. The idea of connecting the African and European coasts dates back to the mid-19th century, when railways were becoming a major mode of transport for people and goods. At this point, it was even suggested to build a dam to block the Strait of Gibraltar entirely to facilitate transportation. However, the resources for such an endeavor were unavailable at that time. Despite this, visionary engineers kept the dream alive, and it took over a century for the project to be revitalized. On June 1979, the Common Hispanic-Moroccan Declaration of Fez was signed by the kings of Spain and Morocco to facilitate crossing between Europe and Africa. This agreement led to the creation of a joint Spanish-Moroccan committee tasked with overseeing the project. The envisioned connection between the two continents promised to revolutionize communication, trade, and cooperation. To connect Europe and Africa via the Strait of Gibraltar, several engineers proposed various designs for bridges and tunnels. Professor T.Y. Lin suggested a 14-kilometer-long bridge, while architect Eugene Sui's 2004 proposal featured a floating and submerged bridge connected to an island in the middle of the Mediterranean Sea. However, the construction of a bridge was eventually deemed impossible. In December 2003, Spain and Morocco agreed to explore building an underwater railway tunnel across the strait. Complications arose when engineers hired by the Spanish government discovered that the material beneath the strait was extremely hard rock, making tunneling impossible with the available technology. One engineering solution proposed fixing a prefabricated concrete tunnel to the floor of the strait using cables, but a geological study raised doubts about the feasibility of this approach. The main issue was that the technological development in Europe at the time wasn't advanced enough for such a massive project. Additionally, there were several other complications at the location. Unlike the Channel Tunnel between France and Great Britain, the depth of the sea and the geological conditions under the Strait of Gibraltar presented significant challenges. The area beneath the strait is less stable than that under the English Channel, affected by the active Azores-Gibraltar Transform Fault, which has caused severe earthquakes in the area. The depth of the strait is also problematic. Where the distance between the lands is minimal, the seabed sinks to a depth of a kilometer. Engineers have suggested a slightly deviating the tunnel's path westward, where the seabed raises closer to the surface. Another difficulty is the multi-directional ocean currents, complicating calculations for the structure's resistance. Despite these challenges, recent studies have shown that a railway tunnel is still feasible. In February 2023, after a high-level bilateral meeting between Spain and Morocco, both governments resolved to relaunch the project for an undersea railway tunnel across the Strait of Gibraltar. The project timeline for completion, this monumental project, is approximately 5 years, meaning construction would need to begin within the next 18 months to be finished before the World Cup. The project specifications involve choosing a tunnel route that, while the shortest path across the strait is 8 miles, extends to around 40 kilometers to avoid the deep central location. The tunnel must be long enough to allow a gradual descent to the required depth before passing beneath the strait. The proposed tunnel design includes a 42-kilometer rail link comprising 27.7 kilometers of underwater and 11 kilometers of underground tunnel. The design features 2 tubes, 4 rail lines, with an emergency or service tunnel in between. This tunnel would transport both passengers and cars, with each single-track tunnel having a diameter of 7.9 meters and a service tunnel measuring 6 meters in diameter. German company Herrenknecht, the largest manufacturer of tunnel boring machines in the world, has expressed the feasibility of building the gigantic machines needed to drill the subsoil of the Strait of Gibraltar for this project. The technical challenges are significant, surpassing those of any existing tunnel, and are likely to have considerable impact on the cost, which remains unclear. However, the technical constraints are not insurmountable. The economic viability of the project is a major concern. Assuming the construction of the Strait of Gibraltar tunnel is compared in scale and complexity to the Channel Tunnel, which, when adjusted for 2024 values, exceeds $25 billion, this project is unlikely to be any less expensive. The uncertainties and technical limitations of the Gibraltar tunnel could further increase this cost. This raises a question. Is it worth it? Spanish authorities claim the tunnel would facilitate the annual passage of over 13 million tons of goods and 12.8 million passengers. However, those projections may be overly optimistic. Capturing such demand will be challenging given the current infrastructure. These are two significant parts located just 40 kilometers apart on both sides of the strait, with about 100,000 ships traversing the Strait of Gibraltar each year, making the area heavily congested. Additionally, there are at least 20 daily ferry crossings that provide strong existing services. Another complication is the lack of rail network integration in Africa and strained relations among North African countries. If the tunnel opened tomorrow, it wouldn't immediately connect Europe to the entire Maghreb region, which includes Algeria, Libya, Mauritania, Morocco, and Tunisia. This raises critical questions about how many people and goods currently crossing the strait would shift to the tunnel and how many air travelers between Europe and Morocco and other Maghreb regions could opt for the rail travel instead. This project is undoubtedly one of the most gigantic undertakings in the world. Improved ties between Spain and Morocco and the potential for increased trade could make it one of the biggest future projects for both nations. Structurally, the tunnel is incredibly complex, and some experts consider it too ambitious, yet it's not entirely impossible due to advancements in technology. What do you think? Will this project materialize in time for the 2030 World Football Cup? Leave your thoughts in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next one.